My phone buzzed just as I was pouring the last of my evening tea. The screen flared with Dad's name and an urgent note: family meeting. Our place. 7:00 p.m. Sharp. My chest tightened at the sight. Family meeting always meant drama. My little cafe on Willow Street might have paid my bills, but it had done nothing to soften their sense of entitlement. I'm Jade Monroe, 32, and I've spent the last 6 years building Moonlit Brews from scratch. It's my lifeline and proof that I don't need anyone's help. Yet here I was, clutching my phone like it was a ticking bomb. At 7:00 p.m. on the dot, I unlocked the front door of my parents' sprawling Tudor-style home, an heirloom they never let me touch. Inside, the living room felt stifling, as if the air itself judged me for showing up. Mom Vivian, age 58, sat on the edge of the sofa in her usual posture, shoulders back, chin raised, lips pressed into a thin line. Her gray-streaked hair was pulled into a tight chignon. Across from her, Dad Robert, 60, looked drained. His suit jacket lay discarded on the armchair, the collar of his shirt unbuttoned. Between them crouched my younger brother, Miles, 29, legs folded beneath him like a guilty child. His eyes darted between me and my parents. He wore a crisp white polo that looked brand new. I made a mental note, fancy gift, or snagged on someone else's dime. Jade, thank you for coming, Mom began, her voice brittle. We have a serious situation. Dad's eyes met mine. They were haunted. The whites tinged pink. We're in trouble, he croaked. Trouble. My stomach twisted. They were comfortably retired. Dad's pension should have covered years. Mom still worked part-time at the local art museum. What had gone so wrong? We made some poor financial choices, Mom said, leaning forward. It wasn't us alone. Some unexpected costs. And now we're staring at a shortfall we can't fill. Miles nodded, his jaw tight. We've looked at everything, he added. There's nothing left to sell. Except, his gaze flicked to me. I exhaled slowly, bracing for the blow. My heartbeat thundered. Except what I whispered. Mom's eyes glinted. Your cottage at Lake Arbor? She said. The one you bought 2 summers ago. It has equity now. We need you to refinance it. Either take a bigger loan against it, or sell it altogether. My breath caught. That cottage was my sanctuary, 2 small bedrooms, a creaky porch overlooking pine trees, and the place I wrote half my poems and sketched rare birds. I'd poured every penny and every free hour into that cabin. It wasn't an investment, it was home. I can't, I said, my voice hollow. I live there part-time. It's my retreat. Dad rubbed his temples. We're running out of time. Jade, by next week, bills start piling again. We'll lose the car, the savings, everything. We don't want to lose the house too. But we have no choice. My heart pounded as rage and shame warred inside me. Shame that they thought I existed to bail them out. Rage that Miles sat there silent while they threatened my security. I'm sorry, I said, forcing calm. I just need a moment. I stepped into the hallway. The house felt cold, empty of warmth. I closed my eyes and leaned against the wall. Memories flooding back birthday dinners when I was 8. To me, wearing a frilly dress, high school graduation, Dad's proud applause, birthday card I gave Mom with a crooked drawing of our family. And all those times they brushed off my accomplishments as cute hobbies. I let the silence stretch until my pulse slowed. Then I returned to the living room, putting on my best measured expression. "Okay," I said, sliding onto the arm of the sofa. "Let's say I agree to help. What exactly do you need from me?" Mom said, relief flooding her features. "We need your signature to list the cottage. Or, if you prefer, take out a line of credit against it, whatever nets us the most cash fastest." Miles offered a tight smile. "We'll split what's left after expenses equally. It'll be fair." His words stung. Fair, he'd been living on my parents' dime for years. Tuition paid, to rent paid. Even that smartwatch he flaunted last Christmas. He was a software engineer now, earning 6 figures. When had I stopped mattering? I nodded, my face blank. "I'll think about it tonight. I'll call my bank in the morning." Mom stood, smoothing her skirt. "Thank you, darling. You're a lifesaver." They exchanged satisfied looks. Dad gave me a weak thumbs up. I forced a sad smile and fled to my car before the tremor in my voice gave me away. The drive home was a silent blur of streetlights and darkened lawns. I parked outside my cottage and sat behind the wheel, head against the steering wheel, heart aching. I thought of the little ceramic mugs lining the shelf, the poems taped to the fridge, the old fishing canoe stored in the garage. How could I abandon all that for their mistakes? Then a cold clarity settled in. I would say yes. I would call the bank. I would start the process. But I wouldn't let them bulldoze my life unchecked. If Miles had spent their money on himself, I'd find out how and make sure he paid for it. If Mom and Dad had hidden debts, I'd uncover every last one. Tonight, I'd pretend to be the obedient daughter. Tomorrow, I'd don my detective hat. Because when your family demands your sanctuary to cover their mess, you either roll over or you fight back. And I was ready to fight. The next morning, I woke before sunrise and dialed my bank's refinancing hotline. I set up an appraisal for the cottage, under the guise of getting the best rate for my parents' emergency. On speakerphone, I listened to the agent praise the property's quaint charm while I scrolled through their online ledger on my laptop. That's when I spotted it, a fresh 5-figure disbursement from Peak Lend, dated the day after I'd reluctantly agreed to help. No mention of it at last night's meeting. Someone was scrambling behind my back. My pulse spiked at the realization that time was running out and that they already knew I'd say yes. Under the pretense of decluttering the cottage before the appraiser arrived, I arrived early with boxes and cleaning spray. As I shifted a stack of antique postcards on the desk, I spotted Miles's slim tablet dangling from a charger cable. He'd left it unlocked. An invitation I couldn't ignore. A quick swipe revealed an email thread with prestige, detailing receipts totaling thousands. A deposit for a ceramic polish appointment on a silver Benz class. My pulse thundered. He hadn't just splurged on watches and trainers, he'd spent tens of thousands on a luxury car. Using money they pretended they didn't have. I swallowed hard, fighting the urge to shake. I decided to confirm it in person. I drove into the city's upscale district and parked across from the detailing shop, clutching a latte as cover. I watched the doors. Sure enough, a gleaming silver Mercedes rolled in, its paint mirror smooth under the marquee lights. A man in a tailored blazer, Miles's build, stepped out and handed over keys. I ducked behind a column and snapped several photos, zooming in on the vanity plate. The evidence was as solid as steel. He couldn't talk his way out of this one. Back home, I funneled what remained of my emergency savings into a private investigator service. 24 hours later, they texted me, registration records. The car was under a shell company tied to Miles's middle name. An alias no bank would question. My breath caught. They'd covered the tracks. But not well enough. They thought they were safe. I leaned back in my chair, the room spinning with betrayal. I printed every scrap bank statements, detailing invoice, PI registration docs, and those peak lend loan agreements. I filed them into a black folder stamped Family Matters. With shaking hands, I wrote a brief cover sheet, Truth and Reparations. Just as I finished, my phone buzzed. It was Mom. Appraisal team arrives tomorrow at 10. Be ready, she chirped. I replied with a calm, understood. Then closed my eyes. Tomorrow, they'd meet the real price of lies. I exhaled, my resolve coiling like steel. The reckoning was at hand. At dawn, I woke to gray light filtering through my curtains and the weight of the black folder on my nightstand. I'd slept fitfully. Dreams haunted by forged signatures and the gleam of a silver Mercedes. I dressed in muted tones, no jewelry, no flourish, just a simple blouse and dark jeans. I tucked the folder into my satchel alongside my laptop and keys. As I locked the door behind me, I promised myself today would be the day I forced their truths into the open, the calm before the storm. I arrived at the cottage before 10, my heart thundering in my ears. The appraisal team, two polite strangers, waited on the porch. I greeted them with a practiced smile and ushered them inside like a proud tour guide. They admired the hardwood floors, the morning sun dancing on my hand-painted tiles. I answered questions about renovations in a steady voice, all the while noting the model number on their laser measurer. Every question I answered felt like a small victory against the charade. By the time they'd measured the last wall, my facade was trembling on the brink. As the appraiser checked closets, I followed casually and excused myself to take an important call. In the bathroom, I dialed my father's banker under the guise of a co-owner. My fingers hovered over the keypad when the banker answered. I spoke calmly, claiming confusion about a loan dispersal from Peak Lend. There, it was a recent 5-figure advance that had gone straight into my parents' account, then vanished. "Let me put you on hold," he said. And I heard silence laced with my own pounding pulse. Predatory loans are one thing. Forged names are something else entirely. Back in the living room, I offered the appraiser bottled water and browsed their tablet, pretending to double-check paint swatches. My phone buzzed with an alert. My PI contacts had sent scanned registration documents confirming the Mercedes was registered under a shell company. I nodded solemnly to the appraiser as he called out dimensions. "The countryside view really adds value," he said, clipboard in hand. I smiled, but inside I burned with betrayal. They thought they were safe. They weren't. After the appraisal wrapped, I told them I'd fetch coffee from the kitchen. Instead, I slipped into the basement under the pretense of storing leftover boxes. Among random family heirlooms, I spotted a battered cardboard crate with my parents' names scrawled on it. Inside lay letters from Friendly Finance, Secure Lend, and Peak Lend loan agreements dated in the last 4 months. I snapped photos of each page, my breath catching as I highlighted the shaky, unfamiliar signatures. The real dirt was in the basement. I uploaded the photos to a secure cloud folder and texted a link to Margaret, my investigative reporter friend. She replied with a single word, Wow. I stuffed the letters back in the crate and headed upstairs, determination hardening in my chest. Now the world would know what they'd tried to hide. Just then, a firm knock sounded at the front door. I froze. Through the frosted glass, I recognized Miles's tall silhouette, hands shoved deep into his pockets. That smug tilt to his head. He'd come here uninvited. The lion was at the door. He stepped inside, scanning the room with faux concern. "I wanted to make sure you're okay," he said, voice low. He smiled, but his eyes were wary. I closed the distance between us and held up my satchel. "I've been busy preparing for tomorrow," I said softly. "We need to talk." At that moment, the rest of the cottage felt charged with secrets. I was no longer the unsuspecting sister. He sat at the kitchen table as I poured 2 cups of tea, his favorite mint blend. I placed the black folder in front of him and watched his confident mask crack. "Before we sign any papers," I said, voice calm but heavy, "I think it's time we reviewed the terms." I tapped the folder, which held every shred of proof. My heart pounded with the promise of revelation. The final reckoning was no longer a distant threat. It was unfolding right here, and part 4 awaited. I poured the mint tea and slid the black folder across the table toward Miles, watching his smug expression falter. "Before we sign any papers," I said, voice steady, "we need to review the real terms." He glanced at the folder's label, "Family Matters," and swallowed. Inside it were the letters from Friendly Finance, Secure Lend, and Peak Lend, all dated within the last 4 months, each stamped with shaky forgeries of our parents' signatures. Tucked between them were the detailing receipts and PI registration records for that silver Mercedes class. I met his gaze, calm but unyielding. "You thought your secret transactions would stay buried, but buried doesn't mean gone." He opened his mouth, then shut it, as if searching for a denial that wouldn't sound hollow. I can explain," he stammered. I leaned back, folding my arms, and recited how I found the loan documents in the basement crate, how the signatures didn't match Dad's confident loops, how the email from Prestige Detailing gleamed with its own betrayal. His face flushed from pink to pale. He looked like a marionette with its strings cut. But every deposit, every withdrawal, every glossy invoice traced a straight line from their account to your vanity project. I finished. "Your carefully constructed facade has dissolved under the weight of every recorded transaction." He reached out, voice tremoring. "Jade, please, let's handle this quietly. I'll repay them. Interest. Whatever it takes. Don't involve the police." I let him talk, measured his desperation, then shook my head. "No more cover-ups. You will sit our parents down, confess this fraud, and initiate a repayment plan before you touch another dime. If you refuse, I will file these with the district attorney, notify the banks, and publish the story to every outlet we can reach." My words hung in the air like a guillotine. "Because I won't just hand over my home, I'll hand over every shred of your betrayal to law enforcement." His shoulders slumped. "You wouldn't." Blood drained from his face as he realized I would. I tapped my phone silent and texted Margaret the summary she needed for a front-page exposé. His eyes flicked to the screen. "That reporter, you actually contacted her," he whispered. I nodded. He realized my network stretched beyond our family photos. It led straight to the front page. I stood and dialed my parents' numbers in sequence, leaving brief messages. "Come to the cottage now. We need to talk. Within 20 minutes, Vivian and Robert stumbled through the door. Confusion and dread on their faces. I ushered them into the kitchen, laid the black folder between them, and watched their expressions crumble as I spread out every piece of evidence: the forged loans, the Mercedes invoices, the PI's time-stamped photos. Mom's lips trembled, Dad's eyes filled with tears. Miles sank to his knees, head bowed. They could no longer hide behind their own blindness. I gathered the folder and led them toward the door. The bank meeting's still on for tomorrow, I said, but now they'll hear the truth first from all of us. We piled into my car in strained silence, Miles in the back. Mom and Dad squeezed onto the passenger bench. I gripped the steering wheel as we pulled onto the highway, the city skyline looming ahead. My heart pounded with righteous fury and aching sorrow. Tomorrow, the banker would witness their downfall as clearly as I did. As we reached the bank's marble steps, I paused to smooth my hair and straighten my jacket. The cool morning air smelled of rain and fresh starts. I lifted the heavy folder, its contents burning with the promise of justice. My family followed, shoulders bent beneath their guilt. I inhaled deeply, no longer a pawn, but the one setting the board. Part 5 would be the reckoning inside that glass fortress. I stepped into the marble vestibule with my family in tow, Mom's shoulders slumped, Dad's gaze fixed on the floor, Miles trailing behind like a hunted animal. Marco Powell, the bank manager, greeted us with a practiced smile and ushered us into the same glass-walled conference room where I'd once almost signed away my sanctuary. His eyes flicked to the black folder in my hand. "Everything's ready," I said, voice calm but charged. "But before we talk numbers, we need to talk truth." His smile faltered. Today, he wouldn't just appraise property, he'd witness the collapse of a family facade. I laid the first loan document on the table, friendly finance, dated 5 months ago. Forged signature glaring back. I watched Marco's forehead crease as I recited the terms: $28. Oh, 0 at 18% APR. Never disclosed. Next came secure lend, another $22. Ling. Identical pattern. Then peak lens 5-figure advance. With each stack I revealed. Miles's face paled until it matched the paper in front of him. The loans they'd hidden from themselves and me stared us all down in stark black and white. No more shadows. Only accountability. Marco cleared his throat and opened his binder, ready to propose debt consolidation. I held up a hand. Not yet. I withdrew the detailing receipts and PI registration proving Miles's luxury Mercedes was financed by these stolen funds. He swallowed hard, eyes darting between the ledger and his own reflection in the tinted glass. Every page I turned was another nail in the coffin of his excuses. Watch him shrink, I thought, under the weight of his own conspicuous indulgence. Mom's hand flew to her mouth, tears brimming. Dad's body sagged as guilt washed him in cold waves. Marco's pen hovered over the consolidation agreement. "We can't process anything until this is resolved," I said, voice firm. "You will confess to the banks, set up a repayment schedule, and reclaim every penny." The room fell silent, no scripts left. Only the raw sting of consequences. The consolidation stalls until justice steps in. I snapped the folder shut and slid it toward Marco. "My equity stays untouched until restitution begins," I declared. Then I turned to my parents. "You enabled this by ignoring the warning signs. Now you fix it. Too, Miles." You face the legal fallout, or you make this right. I stood, heart hammering with closure and sorrow, intertwined. Marco nodded numbly. The banks would call the DAA. The moment their lies unraveled in that sterile room felt like both an ending and a beginning. This is the end of their lies, and the beginning of real accountability. By the time I stepped out of the bank, the sky had turned that bruised gray you see before a storm breaks. The folder of evidence felt impossibly light in my hands, years of deceit distilled into a few manila pages. Miles and my parents followed behind. Shoulders heavy, faces hollow. I didn't look back. For the first time, I walked ahead of them, not behind. As if I'd claimed a boundary they could no longer cross. A week later, the banks confirmed the fraud investigation and froze my parents' accounts. Miles was ordered to repay every penny with interest and faced misdemeanor charges that would stain his record for years. Mom and Dad quietly sold their Tudor home to cover the remaining debt and moved into a modest apartment on Elm Street. They called me daily with apologies that tasted like ash in my mouth. "I'm sorry, Jade," they said, voice trembling. But sorry wouldn't rebuild the trust they'd burned, only time. And a lot of effort. Might. Back at Moonlit Brews, business surged. Regulars slipped me notes of support. Strangers bought extra lattes for my sister's fight. And local press dubbed me the Cafe Crusader. I spent my nights restocking beans and my mornings poring over family finances, not to help them, but to make sure my own foundation stayed solid. Every espresso shot felt like a small victory, proof that I belonged behind the counter, not at someone else's mercy. One crisp Saturday, I invited Mom, Dad, and even Miles to the cottage, my sanctuary that had almost been stolen. The air smelled of pine and lake water as they arrived. Hesitant. We sat on the porch, wrapped in blankets, and I laid out a simple rule: we'd talk about anything except money. No mentions of loans, houses, or bailouts. They nodded, relief and guilt dancing in their eyes. For a few hours, we remembered the old times, fishing at dawn, Dad's burnt pancakes, Mom's laugh echoing through the pines. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. That night, I sat at my writing desk in the cottage, ink rolling across the page as I chronicled every betrayal, every breakthrough, every bitter elbow in my ribs turned lesson in self-reliance. I wrote that forgiveness isn't a single moment, but a series of small acts: showing up, speaking honestly, setting boundaries. I realized that scars don't weaken you. They remind you where you've been and guide you toward where you're going. At dawn the next morning, I stood on the porch, watching sunlight ignite the treetops. My journal closed in my hand. The lake was glassy and still, as if it had absorbed all my rage overnight and now reflected only clarity. I poured a cup of coffee, its steam swirling like a promise. Revenge had been cold. Truth turned out to be warmer, burning away the rot and leaving space to breathe. And in that quiet moment, I knew I was free. Story 2. Your best buddy and I have been having sex. The image of our ideal life together was shattered by Asher's comments, which sliced through me like a dagger. His revelation weighs heavily on me as I look at him, my pulse racing in my chest. Innumerable experiences, 5 years of marriage, and a relationship that I valued beyond anything else, all tarnished by this one act of treachery. My closest confidante, Natalie, whom I trusted with my most private secrets, had been deceiving me for an unknown amount of time. As he watches me take in what he's said, Asher's face is a mask of icy indifference. Evelyn. I want a divorce. It's finished. Hot. Ferocious anger shoots through my veins. How could you harm me like this? To us? Asher. We lived together. We were planning. Dreams. He shakes his head and scoffs. Plans. Dreams. Evelyn. You've been so preoccupied with your work that you've lost sight of what wifehood is all about. I needed more than a roommate who sometimes sleeps in my bed with me. Even though his comments hurt, I didn't let him realize how deeply they went. How long has this been happening behind my back? Natalie. Asher is decent enough to turn his head away. His face flashed with embarrassment. 1 year. Although it began as a friendship, it became into more. Something tangible. My chuckle reverberates in the silence of our living room. A loud, bitter sound. Sneaking about. Lying to your wife. And breaking your vows are all considered real. Asher. What about our marriage? Did you not find that to be genuine enough? He strokes his hair and lets out a sigh. Evelyn. I didn't intend for this to occur. However, Natalie. She knows me better than you ever could. She encourages me to pursue my goals. I don't feel bad about wanting more out of life because of her. And it's worth discarding. Everything we've created together, including our future and house. Tears are stinging hot behind my eyes. But I blinked them away so he wouldn't see me break. Asher gives me a look that combines resignation and sympathy. I'm sorry, Evelyn, but I'm at my breaking point. In addition to starting a new life with Natalie, I want a divorce. His use of finality strikes me as if it were a bodily blow. My entire universe has suddenly been completely upended. Everything I believed to be true turned out to be a well-planned facade. Asher turns to walk away. I yell, my voice shaking with anger that I can hardly control. Asher, this isn't over. I will not allow you to end our marriage amicably. Natalie and you will be held accountable for your actions. He looks back at me after pausing to place his hand on the doorknob. Evelyn, do what you have to do. But it won't alter the fact that I've already made up my mind. I regret that this is how it had to end. And that's him gone. There was a quiet click as the door closed behind him. My legs give out and I fall to the ground, unable to contain the sobs I've been suppressing. Break free at last. In the quiet of the house we used to share. I promise me this. I'll reveal the real reason for their treachery. And the day they decide to lie to me, I will make them regret it. With my rage seething just below the surface, I face Asher. You accuse me of being unfaithful. Asher. How dare you? I never once thought about breaking our vows. Even though we both had busy occupations, Asher narrows his eyes and speaks in a condescending tone. Evelyn, you were always too busy. You were too preoccupied with your own accomplishments to see that our marriage was failing. When you weren't there for me, Natalie was. I encouraged you to pursue your goals and profession. Asher. We came to conclusions together. We decided to hold off on having children until we were both ready. Frustration and hurt seep into every syllable as my voice raises. Asher's lips form a ruthless grin. Okay. I'm all set now. I am getting married to Natalie. And she is pregnant. The family will be with us. The family was always what I desired. It was too self-centered of you to offer me. His words took the breath out of my lungs and struck me like a kick to the stomach. Are you expecting? While we were still wed, you got her pregnant? How could you have acted so carelessly? So careless, Asher shrugs. His lack of concern, a stark contrast to the chaos within me. I'm not going to apologize, Evelyn. But it happened. I won't let you get in the way of Natalie and I creating a future together. My nails dig into my hands as I tighten my fists. Asher, you are a cheater and a liar. In the worst way imaginable, you have betrayed me. For what purpose? A woman who would have slept with the husband of her best friend. How can you possibly envision a future to build upon a base of dishonesty? He takes a step forward, his eyes emotionless and icy. The future I'm entitled to, Evelyn. One in which my wife's inability to look past her own goals isn't holding me back all the time. In ways you couldn't. Natalie supports me and understands me. And you believe that this validates what you're doing. Do you really believe that gives you the right to ruin our marriage and the faith I put in you? My voice threatens to break me under the weight of his betrayal. Asher's words are poisoned, and his face hardens. Evelyn, I'm tired of living a lie. I've had enough of feigning happiness in a long-dead marriage. You are free to get a divorce. But don't expect me to give up easily. I'll make sure you feel bad about ever attempting to prevent me from being happy. Joy, I chuckle. A broken, bitter sound. You believe that a woman who betrays her best friend will bring you happiness. You have delusions, Asher. And I swear to you, every lie, secret, and shady detail of your affair will be exposed by me. I'll see to it that everyone recognizes you as the monster that you truly are. Despite my threats, he grins. Give it your all, Evelyn. However, keep in mind that I'm not the only one with secrets. You're not as flawless as you want everyone to think you are. He then turns and leaves, leaving me by myself in the wreckage of our once contented existence. With every step he takes, my heart gets harder as I watch him leave. I will not allow him to prevail. I refuse to be destroyed by him. I'll use every last bit of strength I have to fight back. And I'll see to it that he is held accountable for his treachery. I silently swear to myself as I stand there with the fragments of my broken world scattered on the ground at my feet. I'll do whatever it takes to find the truth. I'm going to reveal Asher and Natalie's deceit. I'll recreate my life according to my own standards. Their deceit will cost them dearly. And I will see to it that they pay the entire price. The private investigator passes a manila envelope across the table as I sit across from him. His face a mask of professional detachment. So far, Mrs. Callahan, this is what I have discovered. Your spouse has apparently been quite giving to his mistress. With shaking hands, I open the packet, and as I go through the pictures and financial papers, my eyes enlarge. For months, my devoted husband Asher had been depositing money into Natalie's bank account to cover her rent, painting materials, and opulent lifestyle. For what duration has this been occurring, I ask, hardly raising my voice above a whisper. The investigator reclines in his chair, compassion and sympathy mixed together in his gaze. Based on my understanding, the payments began around 6 months ago, coinciding with your husband's increased late-night work hours. I give a nod. I had stupidly disregarded the signs, the jigsaw pieces coming together. Asher's abrupt detachment, his growing coldness in my haste to maintain the integrity of our marriage. I slide the envelope back over the table and say, "Thank you. I value your discretion in this situation." He gets up from his chair and nods. Naturally, Mrs. Callahan. Do not hesitate to give me a call if I may be of any more assistance. With the proof of Asher's betrayal still fresh in my mind, I exit the investigator's office. However, I am aware that approaching him head-on would just result in more denials and falsehoods. No. I must get directly to the source. I have to talk to Natalie. I locate her at her workspace. The agony of her own guilty conscience is reflected in her once vibrant paintings that have turned dismal. As I go in, she glances up, her eyes widening with terror and amazement. "What are you doing here?" Evelyn, with a quivering voice. She asks. My eyes are stern and merciless as I hold up the envelope. "The money is known to me. Natalie, I am aware that Asher has been providing for you and covering your expenses when he was still my husband." She turns pallid. Her hands were trembling in front of her. Evelyn, I can't explain. It isn't what you believe." Really, I make a harsh, sour chuckle, since it appears that my husband has been lying to me and acting like the ideal, loyal husband while having an affair with my closest friend. The tears well up in Natalie's eyes. As she talks, her voice breaks. "Evelyn, he promised me. He said that he was leaving you and that we would begin a new life together. He declared his love for me." I give a head shake. With every word she says, my heart gets harder. "And you thought he was real? You genuinely believed that he would divorce his wife? His prosperous career? For a struggling artist who is unable to make ends meet?" At what I say, she recoils, her shoulders slumping in surrender. "Evelyn, I know it was wrong. I didn't mean to offend you. But he gave me a sense of specialness. Asher wanted. He said that you could never comprehend the manner in which he required me. You were necessary to me." I sneer. I scoff, becoming angrier by the second. Natalie was the mistress he needed. Someone who will make him feel like a man and massage his ego. However, he had no intention of abandoning me. He had no intention of becoming your father. Her gaze expanded. She reached for her stomach out of reflex. "However, the infant, I wanted this child," he said, "that we would become a family." I chuckle, a sound with no humor in it. "Natalie, Asher has no desire to have children. He made that apparent to me from the outset. He just wants what he can't have. And once he receives it, he loses interest. You're nothing more than a conquest to him, a means to prove his own virility." She crumples. Then her sobbing bouncing off the walls of the studio. I watch her, feeling a sick kind of joy in her misery. She brought this onto herself. And now she must face the consequences. I hope it was worth it. "Natalie," I say, my voice frigid and unfeeling. "I hope the price of your treachery was worth the temporary excitement of being Asher's mistress. Because now you'll have to live with the knowledge that you damaged our relationship, our trust, for a man who never genuinely loved you." With that, I turn and walk away, allowing her to drown in her own sorrow and regrets. I have the evidence. I will utilize the evidence of Asher's dishonesty and deception to hold him accountable for every instance of suffering he has caused me. I enter the sleek, contemporary office of Liam Hastings, the well-known divorce lawyer who is notorious for his unmatched success record and brutal techniques. He gets up from behind his desk and extends his hand to welcome Mrs. Callahan. "I'm glad to have met you." His voice is bold and polished as he speaks. "I've heard excellent things about your legal practice. We're meeting in such unfavorable conditions, which is sad." I grasp his hand and hold it firmly and firmly. "Call me Evelyn, please. And I appreciate you agreeing to handle my case. Someone who isn't scared to play hardball is what I need." Liam grinned. There was a flash of menace in his eyes. I'm not in the business of being kind. Evelyn, I promise you, when I am consulted by my clients, I meet their expectations for results. I place the manila envelope across his desk as we sit down. My private investigator discovered this. Evidence of my husband's financial support of his mistress and adultery. Liam looks over the papers, his forehead wrinkled in focus. Evelyn, this is good. Excellent. With the use of this information, we can depict a guy who violated both his financial obligations and his marriage vows. I give a nod. The excitement of approaching retribution made my heart race. There's more. I have discovered proof that Asher has been transferring money into Natalie's bank account by embezzling money from our joint accounts. A gradual smile spreads over Liam's face as his eyes enlarge. Stealing. Oh. This will be enjoyable. He will be nailed to the wall. Evelyn. He won't be aware of the impact. Over the course of the following few hours, we examine the facts and plan our next course of action. Liam is a genius. His mind was functioning in ways I could never have predicted. I never thought about the aspects he sees, identifies technicalities and gaps that will benefit us when we're working. I am drawn to him because of his fervor for justice and his intensity. He is aware of how hurtful betrayal can be. The rage that results from someone you trusted, wronging you. And I find a kindred spirit in that comprehension. You know, he continues, reclining in his chair. Evelyn, over the years, I've encountered a lot of scenarios similar to yours. Spouses who lie and cheat. People who believe they can get away with anything. However, you are unique. You're a warrior. You will not allow him to prevail. I grin. His comments caused a sensation of warmth to stretch over my chest. I'm not. Damn it. Asher believes he can just go on, start a new life with his mistress, and let me with the fallout. However, he is unaware of what is about to happen to him. Liam covers my hand as he reaches across the desk. Together, we'll force him to reimburse Evelyn. The day he believed he could betray you and get away with it is the day he will regret it. I see the same fervor and resolve in his eyes that I see in mine. I realized then that I had discovered more than simply a lawyer. I got a buddy. Someone who will support me and defend my morals. Let's get this done, I say. My voice was firm and powerful. Let's defeat him. With a sly twinkle in his eye, Liam smiles. Evelyn, with joy, with delight. We keep working. The hours passing in a haze of planning and strategy, a feeling of strength is pulsing through me. Asher believed he could shatter me, believed that he could destroy my world and render me powerless. However, he misjudged me. He didn't realize how angry I was, my determination's power. And now that Liam is by my side, I will hold him accountable for all of the lies, betrayals, and painful moments he has caused me. His dishonesty will cost him dearly, and I'll get all the money. My eyes are burning with the rage of 1,000 suns in my palms as I stand in front of Asher. I held on to the proof of his dishonesty. It is evidence of his treachery. His face is a mask of conceit and contempt as he looks at me. Evelyn, what do you want? His voice brims with disdain as he sneers. I believed I had been clear. We're finished. With Natalie. I'm beginning a new life. My icy, sardonic chuckle reverberates across the space. Yes. Asher. You're done. But not in the manner you believe. As his eyes widened in realization, I threw the papers on the table between us. You believed that you could conceal your deception, theft, and vile little affair. However, you were mistaken. Asher, I have evidence of everything. You breached every promise you made and took every dime. His hands shake as he grabs for the papers. This, Evelyn, this is absurd. Can't I prove anything? And you can't, I grin, taking pleasure in his uneasiness. I have emails, text messages, credit card receipts, and bank statements. I have a group of attorneys who are prepared to bring you down. And I have a private investigator who has been following you around. Asher's face goes white. His bluster was eroding in front of me. Evelyn, what do you want, Cash? The home. I'll offer you whatever you desire. Just don't do this. Please. I leant forward and met his gaze. Justice is what I desire. Asher, I want you to make amends for your actions and the suffering you have brought upon. I want you to go through what I went through. His voice is urgent as he shakes his head. Evelyn, please consider what you're doing. Consider our lives together. Our marriage. Our union. I sneer, growing more enraged by the moment. The instant you chose to insert your penis inside my closest friend, you ruined our marriage. The instant you picked her over me, you tossed away our life together. Asher's voice becomes icy and his eyes narrow. Evelyn, you're doing something wrong. I'll make sure you regret it if you follow through on this. Your name will be dragged through the mud by me. I will ensure that everyone is aware of your true nature as a vengeful bitch. With a shriek of bitter victory, I chuckle. Proceed. Asher, try your hardest. But be aware of this. The truth is on my side. I possess proof of your deceit and treachery, and I'll destroy you with it. Same to how you ruined me. His eyes are filled with dread and anger as he looks at me. Evelyn, you'll never succeed. I will fight you till the end. I give a chilly, ruthless smile. Go ahead. Asher, I'm prepared for combat. I turn and leave after saying that. I held my head high. A feeling of strength is pulsing through me, to a feeling of direction I haven't experienced in years. Asher believed he could shatter me, believed that he could destroy my world and render me powerless. However, he was mistaken. I'm stronger than he thought I would be. And until he is held accountable for his crimes, I will not stop. Until he feels the full impact of my retaliation, I will not stop. A feeling of optimism blossoms in my breast as I go outside into the brilliant sunlight. I still have a long way to go. A fight that will put me to the test in ways I never thought possible. However, I'm prepared. I'm prepared to battle. To claw my way back from the edge of hopelessness and come out on top. This conflict may have begun with Asher and Natalie, but I will be the one to bring it to a close. They will also realize the full cost of their deceit when everything is said and done. The quiet of my flat is broken by the high-pitched ring of my phone. I look at the screen. When I see Natalie's name flashing across the screen, my heart skips a beat. After a moment of hesitation, I wonder what new horror she has in store for me. What do you desire before curtly responding, please? Evelyn. Her voice is heavy with tears as she sobs. I need your assistance. The infant Asher does not own her. Her comments give me a surge of vengeful pleasure. I'm left speechless by the feeling of poetic justice. Well? With a voice brimming with hatred, I purr. Natalie. It appears that the roles have been reversed. For a little period, the only sound coming from her is her sniffles. Evelyn, I know I don't deserve your assistance. I am aware that what I did was unacceptable. I have nowhere else to go. Though. So please. Asher. He left us. He stated that he had no desire to interact with either the infant or myself. With a gradual smile on my face, I reclined in my chair. Natalie. Why should I assist you? Why should I do anything to assist you, after everything you've done, and the suffering you've caused, since I am in possession of knowledge? Her voice trembles as she whispers. Details that could enable you to ruin Asher. Evelyn. I'll tell you everything. Every lie he's ever spoken. Every nasty secret. Just lend me a hand. Assist my infant. I'm quiet for a while. Considering my alternatives. On the one hand, the idea of lending Natalie any assistance or even a shred of pity makes my stomach turn. However, the prospect of additional ammo to use against Asher and more weaponry to employ in my conflict with him is too alluring to pass up. All right. I respond in a stern, icy tone. Let me assist you. Natalie. Not for you. Though, for your kid, you'll give me whatever you own about Asher in return. Every skeleton in his closet. Every last bit of filth. Have we made a deal? Her breathing is labored. And she is silent for a while. Yes, she says, in a scarcely discernible whisper. We have an agreement. As I end the call, my thoughts are racing with all the potential outcomes. Natalie's testimony, and the supporting documentation she may offer. Asher can be brought to his knees by me. I can hold him accountable for all the suffering he has caused and all the lies he has ever said. I must first ensure that Natalie fulfills her half of the agreement, though I must ensure that she is genuinely on my side, that she isn't only taking advantage of me. I take up the phone once more and dial Liam's number. His voice is pleasant and reassuring when he responds on the first ring. Evelyn, what is going on? Natalie gave a call. I say in a firm, powerful voice. She wants my assistance. Claims that Asher has abandoned them and that the baby is not his. Liam is silent for a while as he considers the ramifications. If Natalie is speaking the truth, Evelyn, this may be significant. It may be the last nail in Asher's coffin if she has proof against him. I know. I reply, my pulse pounding with the excitement of the upcoming triumph. But I must make sure she isn't playing me. I must ensure that she is genuinely on our side. Leave that to me. Liam adds with assurance in his voice. I'll investigate her past to make sure she has nothing to conceal. We'll use that against her if she is. We will ensure that she is forced to comply. I grin, overcome with appreciation for Liam's steadfast assistance. Thank you, Liam. Without you, I'm not sure what I'd do. You won't ever need to know. His voice is kind and gentle as he speaks. Evelyn, I'm here for you. Always. With Natalie's story, I feel a sense of optimism blossoming in my chest as I hang up the phone, accompanied by Liam. At last, I can hold Asher accountable. At last, I can hold him accountable for all the suffering he has caused. And once everything has settled, I shall be triumphant when the fight is won. I'll come out stronger, smarter, and more capable than before. The information we have gathered against Asher bank accounts, phone logs, emails, and texts paints a picture of a guy obsessed by his own greed and selfishness. And Liam and I sit side by side looking over it. Evelyn, this is good. With Natalie's testimony and the proof we've found, We can bring Asher down. Liam adds, his eyes glimmering with excitement. We can reveal him as the phony that he is. I give a nod. The excitement of the imminent win made my heart race. Liam, I want to watch him suffer. He should lose everything. In my opinion, as if he had caused me to lose everything. Liam grasps my hand. His touch was reassuring and pleasant. Evelyn, we'll see to it that he pays. We will ensure that he never again causes harm to others. We put forth a lot of effort to strengthen our case against Asher. We contact his patients, co-workers, and everyone else who may know of his unethical actions. Additionally, every new testimony comes with a fresh piece of evidence. Our argument gets stronger. The day of reckoning finally comes. We present our findings before the medical board in a detailed and devastating manner. Asher sits across from us, his eyes full of anxiety and his face drawn and pallid. The board chairman, Dr. Asher Callahan, opens with a solemn tone. There is a ton of evidence against you. You have betrayed the confidence of your patients, co-workers, and industry. You have committed adultery, financial malfeasance, and unethical behavior. What are your own thoughts? Asher starts to speak, but nothing comes out of his mouth. His eyes beg for forgiveness as he stares at me. However, I have nothing to offer. Asher, you ruined my life, I say in a harsh, icy tone. You deceived me, betrayed me, and caused me to doubt all of my beliefs. You will now be held accountable for your actions. The board makes a judgment after just a few minutes of deliberation. With a tone of finality, the chairman, Dr. Asher Callahan, speaks. This board has decided to cancel your medical license. With immediate effect, your name will be put to the National Registry of Disciplined Physicians, and you will no longer be able to practice medicine in the state of New York. I pray that God will save your soul. With his face buried in his hands, Asher collapses on his chair. I have an overwhelming sensation of victory and validation that left me gasping for air. I'm the winner. The man who ruined me has been destroyed by me. Liam takes my hand as we exit the hearing. His pride was showing in his eyes. Evelyn, you succeeded. He was held accountable by you. I give a nod, having a calm feeling come over me. Without you, Liam, I could not have succeeded. Throughout it all, you have been my pillar of support. His hand tightens around mine as he smiles. Evelyn, I will always be here for you. Regardless, ready to take on the world together. We go outside into the brilliant sunlight. Natalie is awaiting our arrival. She held her infant in her arms. Her eyes are full of appreciation as she stares at me. She responds, her voice shaking with passion. Thank you, Evelyn. I appreciate your assistance, for allowing me another opportunity. I give a nod. I felt a connection to the lady who used to be my adversary, Natalia. We all deserve another chance. Even you. A feeling of optimism blossoms in my breast as we go. It has been a nightmare for the last few months. I never imagined I'd get out of this horror. But now that I have Liam by my side, and Asher has failed, I realize that anything is possible. I've come out of the shadows stronger and more capable than before, and I'm confident that I'll confront whatever is ahead with a positive attitude, all set to face the world.